exactly 1 year to go before the World Cup. U.S., Mexico, Canada. And we're all excited, all us U.S. men's national team fans, right? Well, we're going to talk about that. Keaton Parks, we're going to talk about Keaton. Matt Freese, back to the national team. And for New York City FC, there'll be some absences, but there's a Thursday night affair, Thursday night football, Yankee Stadium against Atlanta. All that coming up on NYCFC Views Live.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. NYCFC Views.
Collins approaches the shot, and New York City wins the first MLS Cup on their first try, and they're going crazy. Tiene el tiro y gol! Gol! New York City es el campeón de Major League Soccer.
The sickest New York City FC podcast. It's gonna be sick.
All right, we're close to back in action kind of talk. Yankee Stadium tomorrow, New York City against Atlanta United, the return of Ronnie Dyla to the Five Boroughs. I'm Glenn Crooks. There's Roberto Abramowitz. We'll be doing the radio commentary tomorrow for you. But, of course, there's much more to talk about than just that. And, Roberto, welcome back. I know you had a nice trip with Eddie to Mexico. Did you watch any football while you were there?
I did. And I don't know if I'm considering myself lucky or unfortunate that we weren't over the lower 48 as I was flying back from Mexico last night. And the TV finally connected on at halftime of the U.S. versus Switzerland game. So, Glenn, you tell me if I was fortunate or not having
missed all the goals.
That nightmare.
You missed all the goals.
I missed the part that you get to talk about and criticize for New York for the U.S. national team. That's for sure.
Well, I know we were on the group text last night, and while you were 34,000 feet in the air texting, and you know, I almost said New York City, but U.S. men, and we'll talk about that more in kicking it around. But the U.S. men didn't get their first shot on goal till after the 70th minute. Didn't get their first corner ball.
Actually, their first shot, Glenn, because as far as I see, there were 0 shots on goal.
Yeah, right. So it was, it was that kind of a game against a team. It really had the look of men versus boys. But let's get a little bit more into that because we also have to include what happened against Turkey.
Yeah, we've got to give the right context of all of this, and I believe we'll have that.
Well, the context is that the country has not warmed to this team. That's a fact. But anyway, let's get to New York City. I want to start by talking about Keaton Parks because I think this is massive. Keaton Parks is going to be out. He's going to be out for a while. We don't know how long. Now, remember last week I played something from my chat with Pascal Janssen where he used the word mystery as far as Keaton Parks' injury. Well, here's what he said this week. So this is Pascal Janssen from my pregame briefing yesterday when Keaton was not at training, and then he disclosed that he would not be available for Atlanta. So here you go. He was unavailable for the game against Atlanta. The foot injury is still nagging. To what extent can you tell us how that's going and what the immediate future is with Keaton?
Well, the immediate future is that we're very happy, if you will, to have more insight on what the problem is. So that's looking better than it was before. However, that means he won't be available for us for the coming weeks because we have to solve this issue, and we've been working very hard with Keaton in order to solve it earlier than today, but it hasn't happened yet. But it looks to go in the right direction now, so we just have to wait, and hopefully after that and all the procedures that have been done, he'll be available again.
So, Roberto, if you've ever been sick and you're not quite sure what's wrong with you or injured, it is nice to at least know what the problem is. But the problem is being sorted out, and then there's going to be another evaluation. So we're not exactly sure what's going on. But what we do know is that we're not going to see Keaton for a while.
Yeah, and it's very unfortunate because we were talking about this last week, the importance of Keaton Parks, and you can make the argument that so far this season, aside from Alonso Martinez, he's been the most important player on the team. And he makes that offense go. When he's not there, the team seems to lack ideas on how to break down defenses. And he's so good with his feet. He's so good at being very aggressively progressive with the ball. It's rare to see him dump the ball back or he's finding ways to get that ball forward all the time. And I think in many ways he might be very underappreciated by a lot of the fan base. But this year, when you're talking about who is the MVP in this team, he's part of that conversation. He's a major part of that conversation.
Along with Alonso, along with Matt Freese. And then Justin Hack has to be inserted in there a little bit too, I think.
100%.
Those
100%.
Those are the first four guys I think of when we, we talk about the success or lack thereof at times of New York City FC. Because let's face it, right now, somebody asked me this morning, what grade do you give them? And right now they're bang average. It's a C. They have a straight C. They're in 9th place out of 15 teams in the conference, barely above the playoff line. And now they're going up against Atlanta, a team that is absolutely desperate for a victory. So, and
a team that's terrible on the road.
Well, no wins in 7 games. I think you're right. I think you're right. 2 points out of 7 matches. And New York City's understood the struggles on the road as well. But they're coming off the 2-2 draw with Nashville, with Keaton Parks assisting on both goals.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, Atlanta's coming off the 2-0 loss at Sports Illustrated Stadium against the New York Red Bulls. So the big story in this game is who's available and who's not. Now, first of all, we look at the New York City side. And Matt Freese is with the U.S. men's national team. He got his chance to play with against Turkey. He got his first cap. Fantastic for Matty. But now it's Tomas Romero who's front and center. Very interesting here, Roberto. And the next clip I want to play is he was the featured midweek presser guest from the player pool. So and he seemed to intimate that it was his decision to not go and represent El Salvador while they were in World Cup qualifying. And so I kind of followed up on that, and here's what he said.
I would say that they always want me. I mean, obviously they have to make the decision and stuff like that, but we have a good communication, have a good relationship with them. So it's always open. It's not like it's just like they send an email in and then they're telling me to come in. It's more like I have open dialogue with them all the time, and they kind of knew the situation. Or I had reached out and told them the situation with Matt leaving and stuff like that. And there's things up in the air, but we worked through it. And yeah, I want to play this game on the 12th, and they understand my position. Look, it is a tricky situation. I wish the best for them, and I hope I'm talking with all the players and stuff like that. I wish them all the best of luck. It's a massive game, so I'll be watching that, of course. But at the same time, I think I've spoken with the coaches there, and they know that I have a big opportunity to play as well, and it'll be my MLS debut with the club, which is super important to me. And they understand that as well. And I mean, I'm taking it very seriously, and they kind of understand my position on things right now. And but yeah, I wish them all the best. I mean, I'll be watching every game that they have.
So all they needed was a draw last night, and that's what they got, 1-1 against Suriname. Not a great game. The way I understand it, and it was a home match for El Salvador, but
Suriname went down early.
Suriname had so much of the ball, and the El Salvador supporters were chanting "Ole" against their own team.
Yes, that's very common in Mexico and Central America, probably the rest of Latin America. Fans get very frustrated and sarcastic very, very quickly when things don't go well. And look, they have a major coach on their team because they've got Piojo Herrera, who was a former Mexican national team and has had massive success with clubs in Mexico, including Club America. So, they've got a very, very good coach.
They got the tie, and now they move into the third round of qualification. So they're trying to get to the World Cup for the first time since 1982. But back to
CONCACAF just put out the seedings for the groups. And so here are the seedings. Now that we're talking about Romero, there are 4 pots, and so the way the seedings go is Panama, Costa Rica, and Jamaica are the first seeds. In pot number 2 are Honduras, El Salvador, and Curacao, so they're second level. Pot 3, Haiti, Trinidad and Tobago, and Guatemala, and pot 4 is Nicaragua, Suriname, and Bermuda. So let's see, the official draw is going to be June 12th. And so we'll see what happens, who they get to play after that. I had read in the Salvadorian press after I found out that Romero had not been selected, and I went to see why. And it was reported, and basically everything that he's saying is that he asked permission. They understood the value of him staying with New York City. And now that we understand that Matt Freese is going to be gone with the U.S. national team for as long as the Gold Cup is, as long as they stay alive in the Gold Cup, and you presume that they'll get out of their group, but it's not guaranteed, especially the way they're playing. And we'll talk about that later, that, he's going to get a chance to get a run of games over here. And it's very, very important for him. So, and it's important for the team. So we'll see. He's gotten a run, to play a few games with NYCFC 2. So we'll see how he does here with, a very big assignment at Yankee Stadium tomorrow.
His last game was the Pittsburgh Riverhounds, May the 7th. His previous last competitive game outside of the 2 team is with El Salvador last November. So he's a guy that hasn't played a lot of games. And that was part of our, that was the first question that you have to always ask that of the goalkeeper. I mean, how are you doing this? What's your expectation? And he's 24 years old, but he said he's grown up a lot. And remember, he had a sling of consecutive starts for LAFC in 2021. He was their number 1 keeper. Went to Toronto, it fell off the charts there, and now he's behind, Matt Freese.
And, let's be honest about Matt Freese, right? He's been lights out. I didn't get to see the goals yesterday that the United States allowed. So I can't rate Matt Turner. You'll be able to do that, and you'll tell me how he did. Friends of mine have told me that he was responsible for maybe 2 of the 4 goals. But you tell me how. You'll tell me when we talk about that.
Okay.
Point being is that there's a chance that Matt Freese might wind up starting a few of these games in the Gold Cup. And then if that happens and he's successful, that is going to elevate his profile even more. And one has to believe that there at some point there's going to be, if he performs well, that his value will increase, and teams in Europe are going to start noticing, and we'll see where it goes from there.
Well, as I've told all of you in the group chat, Matt Freese is a 300-plus games appearances goalkeeper for New York City FC. That's my prediction. I believe he's here to stay. But as far as the international breaks and how it goes with the U.S. men's national team, you're absolutely right. Pascal Janssen, I asked him about Matty, and he certainly one of the things he said in the weekly presser, is that there's more to come. But anyway, here's what he thought about Matt Freese and the U.S. men's national team. Now, this was before the Switzerland game yesterday.
Well, we're very proud of him. It's a massive moment for the club, but especially for Matt Freese himself. You've all seen the progress that he's made in this season again. That also shows what Matt is about, always trying to improve himself, get better, and hopefully there will be many more caps coming in the future. I saw the game, and it was very unfortunate because the U.S. team, in my opinion, started really well, very aggressive, got the goal, a beautiful goal by the kid from Houston. And then there is 2 moments, like we discussed earlier, Glenn, the momentum changes. It's a build-up moment where the centre-back has an easy pass, no pressure, and unfortunately makes the mistake, and Matt is beaten. But the second goal comes straight after. So the momentum changes, and at that level, you will get a few opportunities maybe to get back into the game, but unfortunately, it didn't work out for the U.S. national team.
Nor did it last night. But that's Pascal Janssen, who's getting his club ready for Atlanta United tomorrow night at Yankee Stadium with Tomas Romero in goal. And Monse Baccarat will play up top for Alonso Martinez. There's no secret there. How Pascal will set up the rest of the side with, you wonder, there's a lot of guys. There were 7 guys away on international duty. Now, I can't imagine Aiden O'Neill being available because he's flying back from Saudi Arabia. Congratulations to Aiden O'Neill.
Yes.
Australia, qualifying for the World Cup. There he is. He played the full match in the first of the 2 games, which was a 1-1 draw. No, the victory over Japan. First time they'd beaten Japan since 2009. They didn't have – I watched that game. They had none of the ball. I think Japan had like 75%, but they were all over them, but they held on and then beat Saudi Arabia on the road 2-1 and clinched the World Cup berth. So Aiden O'Neill's going to get a chance to play next summer in the U.S., Mexico, Canada, wherever they throw Australia for those games. So that's cool too. But, so the midfield, you would think Andres Pereira – does Justin Hack move
He's back.
midfield? Because we don't think Johnny Shore will be available either. He's flying back from Spain. So you just wonder, but he's only, he's 18 years old. So come on, man. Get off the train and let's do it. So
youth, yes.
So
all
it's
to do with that.
Unclear who will be available. Alonso Martinez, he played. He did not play in the. Well, of course, he's going to be away for the Gold Cup. Forgive me. So I know he's not going to be around. And that's why we're assured of Bakrar coming in. So, and then on the Atlanta side, the only thing we can surmise is they have 2 starters who played games yesterday, Bartosz Slisz and Jay Fortune. So it just depends on when they get back. Latte Lath played 14 minutes 2 days ago, I believe, was a match that he played with Ivory Coast. No, it was yesterday. Ivory Coast.
And everybody or most of the players was June 10th, which was yesterday.
Yeah. No, it was yesterday. So Ivory Coast and Canada 0-0 draw, and Latte Lat played 14 minutes. So who knows how he'll, how will he decide that? How will
Luis Abram was with Peru. Miguel Almiron was with Paraguay, and they played yesterday. Peru played Ecuador yesterday, so that result. They have Luke Brennan and Noah Cobb that were the U.S. U20s. They played their last game yesterday against Egypt. Also gone for the U18s was Dominic Chonqui and Brendan Dunham. So Jay Fortune was gone for Trinidad and Tobago against Costa Rica. They played yesterday. There's a lot. The thing with Latte Lath, they played against Canada, but they played in Toronto, so he doesn't have a long way to go. Well, I can't say the same thing for Sava Lobanice, but his last game was June 8th. So, there's a good chance to be around. Caden Moore played June 7th. Efrain Morales with Chile with Bolivia, not Chile, played against Chile June 10th. Martin Schließ, Finland against Poland was also June 10th. My God, they had almost a dozen people with national team call-up. That's a good thing, and that's a bad thing, especially when you play in MLS where they just play through all these windows.
And it's a unique Thursday night game coming up too, Roberto. And something you said along. As far as Atlanta here, and I want to get to the other. We've mentioned some of the other players with New York City FC and their international performances. So maybe run through that really quickly before we get to kicking it around. But Atlanta has conceded 6 set-piece goals and 4 penalties. 4.
Yeah.
So including Alonso Martinez converted a penalty past Brad Guzan in Atlanta. The unfortunate 4-3 defeat after going up 3-1, playing a good hour of quality football, and then hooyah. I don't think we've witnessed anything quite like that against New York City. We've seen that Cincinnati game where, what was it, down 3-0 and came back and tied it at halftime 3-3, and then went ahead 4-3 and it ended 4-4. But it was a collapse of major proportions. All different kinds of things happened in New York City. But Alonso Martinez scored one of his 8 goals from the penalty spot in that game. One of 4 penalties surrendered. So that's pretty interesting. They've conceded.
They've also, I think they allowed a goal off a. Let me see. I thought that I had seen that they had allowed from. They allowed a goal from a throw-in. They allowed a goal from a throw-in 5 were from penalties, as you say. They allowed 2 goals from free kicks. Jesus, 3 from corner kicks. They're having set-piece nightmares, this team. And but New York City isn't exactly taking advantage of that. 11 goals were conceded through set pieces. I mean, that's amazing.
Oh, I had it as 10.
No, I have it as 11 based on the game notes from New York City. What they've allowed 10 was that they've allowed 10 goals in the first half and 20 goals in the second half.
Okay. Well,
that's how I have it. And I took these notes from.
It's why they have 4 wins from 17 games. It's why they have 17 points from 17 games, and it's an issue. And Ronnie Dyler's got some work to do. It hasn't been pleasant for him. Has not.
They can't figure it out. He can't get all that talent to mesh. And it's interesting because as you look at this team, this is a team that spent a lot of money. And I know the frustration that New York City fans have at the New York City not always throwing money at players and getting DPs. They spent a lot of money, including $22 million for Latte Lath, right?
Well, hey, and Latte Lath, Roberto, his last goal scored. He's gone 13 games, all competitions without a goal. His last goal against
New York City
in March.
The gift. It was the
Thiago Martins
freeze
Matt
gift.
Freeze. Yeah, the moment that resulted in in an early week little conference to make sure everybody was on the right page. And
Thiago Martins went nuclear after that, as you clearly said, as Thiago's watching. It was all his fault.
No, he had to take. Hey, and if you notice, now I don't know if you've even mentioned this on commentary, but I'm going to say at least a half a dozen times since that moment when Martins gets in a similar position, he just knocks it into rosette.
Oh yeah, we've mentioned it, and yes, obviously he's changed. And I mean, I'm sure that they had the riot act read at them, or mostly at him.
No, it's
by,
the way to
by
play.
Pascal.
It's just you. It's not about playing safe. It's playing smart.
Exactly.
I don't like saying the safe thing. It's smart. You're smart.
Right.
Play it smart. So we talked about Alonso Martinez. He did have the game-winning goal, albeit in an 8-0 win against the Bahamas. So he scored the first goal.
Yeah, but he scored first, so it's all good.
And then he did not play in the 2-1 win against Trinidad and Tobago. And now their next game is in the Gold Cup June 15th against, ironically, Suriname, who we were just talking about in reference to somebody qualifying.
El Salvador
qualifying with a 1-1 draw. Now, Aiden O'Neill, I watched the game against Japan. It was a 7:15 in the morning, like on a Thursday. I was like, whoa, and it was on, I can't remember where it was, but I found it. And
I remember you texted us at that time.
It was Australia never had the ball. It was like one of these, it looked like a training session. Like sometimes you set up a training session where you'll set up, you'll play 11v11, but you'll set up the one side just to slide defensively and step and then drop and slide, not to win the ball at all. And just the other team just move the ball and try to get something on goal. It really resembled that. It was crazy. They never had the ball. And then one counterattack later, and Aiden O'Neill's in the middle of it. He intercepted a pass just inside of the halfway line and triggered the counterattack that led to the only goal of the game. It was crazy. And at that point,
we've seen things like this. This is how Greece won the Euros back, how many years ago now? Yeah. They got a goal and parked the bus. And it's a legitimate strategy. And so that's why I always talk about that. I don't, love possession statistics, because sometimes it doesn't tell you the true nature of the game. Well,
the true nature of this game is that Australia escaped. Japan missed some chance. So I believe that the true nature of this game is that if it ended 5-1, no one would have been surprised. You know what I mean?
I get that. I fully get that.
Yeah. So, but congrats, because after that, they had pretty much virtually clinched. Then the U.S. under-19s, and you sent this to us. Johnny Shore scored the lone goal in a 1-1 draw with Spain. So I asked Pascal about that. I said, now you need him to score a goal for your club. It was like,
but he's tried. Yeah, give him credit. The kid's tried. I mean, he's not shy to take shots.
They tied Ukraine 1-1 on June 10th. That was yesterday. So I would think, and I think both those were played in Spain. Then this UEFA Friendship Cup, the US U18s, they won it. And Drew Baera was a big part of it. He played a lot. Didn't score any goals, but he's playing fullback. He played on the left side a little bit, I think. I didn't see any video. I'm just looking at the schematics that are put out there, and you never know if they're
accurate. And sometimes those are really off, by the way, but yes, I get it. I know.
So if he can play, I mean, if he can push himself as a left-sided player or a right-sided player, that's going to provide value to New York City at some point, someday. Because I remember talking to Matt Pilkington about him, and he has faith that Baera is going to make it at some point. So we will see. Pilkington, the former academy director, he's former U19 coach, and now is the NYCFC 2 coach. I think he was the academy director, maybe not. Well, Matt, maybe I just elevated you. Sorry, I can't remember if you were or weren't. And then Maximo Carrizo with the U17s. They played a bunch of games. They looks like they lost to Sweden, tied Canada, and beat Japan, which is a good win at that level. And Carrizo did not score any goals, and I don't know how much he played. There's no box scores on this, so I did the best I could there, Roberto.
Thank you. I had some travel nightmares last night, but so it was hard for me to look at a lot of stuff. But I'm glad that you were on top of this, Glenn.
One final thing before kicking it around, Roberto, is, and I just wanted to give a shout out to Vancouver.
Oh my God!
So they get scorched, right, in the CONCACAF Champions Cup final by Cruz Azul, but then they come back, and they lose like a majority of their team and coaching staff to some, the Columbus Crew syndrome. They were in Mexico, and I don't know if they drank the water that they shouldn't, whatever, but a lot of gastro issues and a lot of players not available. They had 7 short-term loans. Vancouver 2 players. Now, none of them played, and 9 of the 11 players went the full 90 minutes in a 3-0 win against Seattle. I think that right there, man, I think that says a lot about Sorensen, the head coach.
Yeah.
And it gives me an opportunity, by the way, I'm going to be recording an interview for my SiriusXM show with Vanni Sartini on Monday, and I cannot wait. So,
I wonder how he analyzes that team now. If he's looking at them or not.
That's a question to ask because he could, you as a former coach, you could say you could have hard feelings or, But my guess, Vanny's a pretty happy-go-lucky guy. I'm going to guess he's very happy for them, and I'm going to guess that he's going to be able to explain why. And but I'll if there's anything interesting, and I can't imagine there not being some interesting things from this conversation, I'll share a little bit next time we do this.
That's good. Now, the official injury report has come out, and we're seeing that Atlanta, Josh Cohen is going to be gone 6 weeks for them. Stian Gregerson is out. Edwin Mosquera is out. Tristan Mayumba is out. And Cayman Tagashi is also out. But the surprise part here is New York City only lists 2 players, Malachi Jones and Keaton Parks.
Well, Kevin O'Toole
is back.
Yeah, he's in the squad tomorrow. I would think we'll see Nico Cavallo at the start. He was wearing a brace on his left knee, the one that's been giving him issues and the reason he's been out for so long. So, but he trained full yesterday. So yeah, he's in the squad. So that's a good one.
Or they can still go with, the way they've been playing with sometimes where they put Wolf in the back as well. So remember that they've gone a lot with that too. So it's going to be an interesting lineup. But here, there was a question of Pascal in a weekly presser. I don't remember who asked it, but said, are you going to stick with 3 at the back like you did against Nashville? And Pascal said, I don't understand the question because we did not play 3 at the back. And I think, Roberto, the thing to really carefully look at when they play, and one thing they lose now, if Hack has to start in the midfield, they really lose this weapon of how Pascal wants to play, and that is the central defender Hack, who's good on the ball, moves into the midfield when they're in the attack. One more player gets pushed forward, and now all of a sudden you have an additional player in the area for crosses and whatever might be coming up. They're not going to have that luxury. Yeah, but the way they've been playing lately, Hack hasn't been in the midfield. He's been mostly a central defender pairing with Thiago Martins, and Reese has been on the left side. So Reese is the one who's. But you had mentioned Cavallo, and I'm thinking, Reese is really the one who's played there, and then sometimes you had Wolf too. But Reese has really been the guy who's been playing left back for the team.
So who are you starting in the midfield? So what's your midfield? With everybody,
Pereira is one for sure.
And
Pereira. Tomorrow, yeah. If Johnny Shore might be fresh after playing, 3,000 minutes.
He's not going to start him.
Let's understand also that Johnny Shore is flying from Spain to New York, and it's a lot easier flying west than it is flying east. It's a totally different thing. It's much easier flying west than east. But having said that, I don't know. I'm on two minds on this. If Shore is ready, if Shore is anywhere close to ready, I think he might put him in the lineup because the way that they've been playing defensively, aside from the 3 goals that they allowed against, what was it, the last time they played at Yankee Stadium? What was it? Houston. Okay. This has been a pretty much lights out team. And I don't know if he really wants to mess with that.
Conceded against Nashville. We're awful. That's not lights out, man. They have not been. They've conceded 5 goals in the last 2 games. I wouldn't call that lights out.
All right, you're right. I'll take it back.
No, don't take. But
you're right though. Yeah, I didn't think of it that way.
Hack at central defense with the ability to move into the midfield when they're in clear possession makes it a back 3.
Yeah.
Or he stays and Risa goes, like you were saying. The one thing I want to see, I'm waiting for Risa to get his first free kick goal because I would say from that 25 to 30 yard marker, and if it's at the proper angle, if he strikes the ball like he did against, it was Nashville, right? Yeah, against Nashville that hit the bar.
Yeah,
if he strikes it like that, no keeper could save it. If he puts it in the right
that bar is still shaking.
that was quite a strike. And yeah, so there you go. So
that may be why the U.S. conceded 4 goals. Because it was on that side of the field at Gettys Park.
I guess Cardoso was tricked into knocking it off the shins or the kneecap of the.
Well, that was a different stadium, so that was up in East Hartford.
Oh, that was that. Yeah, I got the wrong game. Sorry about that. Yeah.
Yeah. That was East Hartford. That was horrific, by the way. Let's talk about it. Let's get to.
All right, kick it, get around.
Yeah, let's do that.
All right. First things first, Roberto. So in the UEFA Nations League final, Spain and Portugal 2-2. Portugal wins on penalties. Cristiano Ronaldo had to leave the game injured, 40 years old, and he was heaving in tears and emotional. And after Portugal wins, and it elicited. So Landon Donovan was on. In the studio crew, and this is going to lead into some U.S. men's national team chat. I'm going to read the quote. So this is the first thing he says when it's his time to speak, and he's referring to Ronaldo. This is what it means to represent your country. If you don't want to take it seriously as a professional soccer player and someone who gets the opportunity to wear the jersey, then don't come in. Ronaldo is 40 years old. He played a long season. He was out there grinding and got hurt in the process. And I can't help but think about our guys on vacation not wanting to play in Gold Cup. It's pissing me off. So I wonder who he's talking about there. I guess
he's talking about everybody who's not involved, right? The guys who could have been here, and Pulisic being the first one. But also players were quick to respond. Clint Dempsey being one of them. Talking about, hey, what about, the sabbatical you took from soccer? And the funny thing is, okay, I don't know if it's funny. It's probably the wrong thing to say. But the interesting thing to say is one of the reasons that Landon Donovan took the sabbatical was because he needed a mental rest. And then when he came back, and Landon's always been very open about everything he does and why he does it, and about whatever personal struggles he's had. And all of that. And look, for somebody who knows more than I want to ever know about mental struggles in life, I understand where he was coming from and why he did what he did, and the importance of taking care of yourself mentally to be able to be at your best. Okay. But if you believe, okay, that mentally, and you should, right, that you need a rest mentally because you're not fully capable, right, of making the correct decisions, and you're it's almost like a physical injury, right, and you need that to get yourself straight. Well, the same thing applies if you need that to get the rest of your body straight, because it's not a matter of, let me finish. It's not a matter of strength and weakness that you can think yourself out of these whatever problems that you have. There are a lot of chemical imbalances and real physical issues that you have that gives you either the strength or the weakness mentally. And so that's one thing, but it also applies when it comes to physically. So you can't basically say or infer, okay, that the players who are taking time off from the U.S. national team, i.e. Christian Pulisic, okay, are weak because they didn't want to represent their country in the Gold Cup, right? Especially if somebody like him should not say that, considering the fact, for the reasons that he took a sabbatical. And I respect the reasons that he took the sabbatical, and I fully supported him for taking that sabbatical. I think it's right thing to do, right? And not to try to push through and be a hero. That's the wrong thing to do, okay? That's the wrong thing to do. And for him to then criticize Christian Pulisic for that was disappointing to me. And I hope that he might have, I haven't seen anything lately, but I hope that based on what other people have said, hopefully on what I say, whatever, he might reconsider his position a little bit.
Well, he's not reconsidering his position, okay? Let me make that
well, then
100%
fine.
clear. And he continued by saying, I'm beating a dead horse, but I don't care. I care about this country, and I care about our national team. We don't have enough of that, what you just heard, talking about Ronaldo. We need more of that leading into the Gold Cup and World Cup. And our fans have that passion. We read about it every day on Twitter. We see it in the stands. They want to feel that, and they want their players to feel that too. These guys, the Portuguese players, feel it. I think what you're saying, hold on. What you're saying is that it was the wrong guy maybe to present this because he had a similar thing happen, and he had a very long sabbatical. I believe it was 18 months. And I think what's ironic here, Roberto, is the fact that, talking about your mental health has only recently been something that athletes were brave enough to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
Ironically, he sort of set the table. He was one of the table setters to present it out in the open, and in some ways not really care about what other people thought about what his decision was, because he was doing what was best for him personally. And then ultimately, I'm sure what he felt was best for him on the U.S. men's national team and with the national team and with his club teams at the time. The only difference, Roberto, and then I'll let you should add a little bit more, and then I'm going to bring Pascal into the conversation a little here too, is that Landon at the time was 31, going on 32, and Pulisic is
26.
Yeah, 26. He's a lot
somewhere younger. Around there.
So whether that doesn't necessarily make it right or wrong, or should we consider that as a factor? But I think at that point in his life, in his soccer playing life, Landon had put more minutes into the game, I guess is what I would say.
Right. Misael in our comments has a comment on this, and let me give my final thoughts on this as we do that. And if you could show that chain, both of his comments. I don't agree with the fact that Pulisic is soft. I don't believe that at all. Do
you believe Landon was 30?
No, well, that's fine. It's okay. But I mean, you could. I mean, there's no doubt that Pulisic has played a lot of soccer, and I think that's also part of the issue is that this FIFA calendar keeps on getting more and more events and dates and games, and just a general calendar for players now is much, much different than it was, even 10 years ago when we were talking about it back then. And it's only gotten worse. Everybody makes money, and so they want more games. So there's more cups, there's more games, all these things.
Well, this is.
But I just wanted to say one thing about Landon and all of his comments. Although I disagree, I already made my point on what I disagreed with. I also want to say that I fully agree with the rest of it. And, in many ways, the fact that the U.S. sometimes some of the players can be dispassionate can be a favorable thing, but sometimes when you're lacking it, makes it look bad. And that's why you see somebody like a Diego Luna, just absolutely shine with the U.S. national team just by the way he plays and goes about it and goes into everything, full bore. And I think we used to have more of that on the national team, and we need more of that on the national team. They used to win games on guts, not always on talent. And now that we've got a lot of talent, sometimes maybe we're not seeing the level of guts that we used to see before. That may be, I may exaggerate that maybe a little bit, or maybe a little bit unfair. I get that. But if you understand what I'm trying to say and the balance that I'm trying to strike between both, I hope you get the point I'm trying to make.
Before we fade, I get your point. And Todd Ramos, in an interview with me in a conversation, was talking about how our youth system, I might have played that clip on the show. I can't remember if I did or not.
You did.
He was talking about how perhaps we could almost forgive the players, and this was after Nations League, because we haven't created the right environment on the youth and development level to get them ready, because we don't emphasize the winning enough, which is a pretty interesting take. But here, Pascal Janssen, I wanted to ask him, and I bring up Ruud van Nistelrooy in this conversation. Pascal is Dutch, so he's well aware of Van Nistelrooy and what goes on with the Netherlands. After I talked to him about Landon's comment and Cristiano Ronaldo with the emotion, and Landon, what he had to say, and here's what Pascal had to say. Ruud van Nistelrooy for Holland told the coach that he was going to take a 6-month sabbatical. How would the country respond? How would the supporters respond? How would all that go, do you think?
Well, I would assume they would have responded similar also, because national team is national team. It's an honor to be playing for the national team. We all know that the national team players have a very busy schedule because they play more games than anybody else. Now with the World Cup for the clubs also here, every summer there's more games. The guys at that level play Champions League, they play all the leagues and so many games. So from that perspective, you might understand what's going on, but from a supporter's perspective and playing for your country, you want your players to be available at all time. So I'm assuming that's where the response comes from, but you're talking about one of the best players ever on this planet. And being 40, playing the way he does, the hunger that he still shows in each and every game, that is exceptional. That's why he's one of the best players of the world.
Can I add a little context to that also? Remember the first time that Portugal won I don't know if it was the Nations League or the was it the Euros? Okay, and he got injured like in the first minute. And he had to come out, and he had to watch the rest of the game from the bench, and he was like almost coaching the team from the bench, right?
I remember.
So I think that, the frustration of not being able to fully participate in that game, in that final, and help win, no matter what he did to get the team to the final, right? Now in this game, not only did he help get the team to the final, but he also was able to play a substantial amount before getting injured and having to leave. So I think that the level of emotion that goes into all of that went into that reaction at the end of the game was also, I think, colored by what happened the first time that they were in that position and they won and he couldn't participate. And now he was able to. And I think that's part of it. But, congratulations to Portugal, seriously, because Spain, God, are they a good team.
Yeah.
Oh, they're a good team.
Yeah, they didn't
Portugal
play
to win
well.
that game. Oh, even in penalty kicks.
Well, and it was Ronaldo scored the equalizer to make it 2-2 to
Right.
send it before he got injured and taken off. All right. Well, I think it's debatable. Some have said Christian Pulisic and Yunus Musa should still be with their team, even if they're not going to at least be in camp to provide some support too. But if we go back to that would take care of you physically. But if there's a mental issue where you're just trying to escape for a bit, that doesn't really help that to be around the environment still. But man, it would be great to see those guys just say, I think that would be more acceptable, or maybe people would still just give them a hard time. I don't even know.
There's always going to be people that don't agree. Speaking of Musa, it seems, and I think it's him, that he may be switching teams in Italy. There was a report that I read while I was in Mexico that Musa might be going from AC Milan to Napoli. And so
I'm a big Napoli supporter now,
so that means that Musa gets to play Champions League.
So
if that deal gets completed.
Yeah. Well, that's the LAFC just worked alone with Club America on a player because of this new during this Club World Cup, you're allowed these temporary loans.
Yep,
so they're pulling in a Club America player to play for them in the Club World Cup, and then they're shipping him back.
Who did they pull?
I don't remember. It was in a release just before we went on. So
I haven't seen it all. Guys who are posting.
No, I got it. I have it. I don't know the player. Dil Rosson.
Oh, Dil Rosson. Okay, so he's a Dutch player who hasn't played a lot. And he is one of the players that is on the transfer list for America for this season. So Dil Rosson, so he's on the transfer list for America. So I understand why they would allow him to go and play.
Look at this. They brought him in as a designated player, and it says that Under is returning to Fenerbahce in Turkey. I don't know. I'm telling you, I just saw this and I threw it on the piece of paper. So I'm not sure what's going on there. I don't know, because Under had come in during preseason.
Yeah.
Out at Coachella, in fact, was the time he arrived. So I don't know what's going on there. I do have contacts there, but we'll have to hold that in.
I was hoping that maybe they got somebody like Henry Martin or Diego Valdez. I think Martin got injured. Diego Valdez is fantastic. Oh my God, he's such a good player.
Well,
and speaking of players from Club America, I think that every game that the U.S. national team plays right now, is an advertisement that they're missing Alejandro Zendejas. I think Zendejas right now on this team would give the United States, and I don't know if they can bring him in or not. I don't know if there's still time if either somebody gets hurt or if they want to make a switch, because he was on the 60. He was on the 60. They haven't played yet. So before they play, I believe there's still room.
I think Doug McIntyre wrote that it's past the time where you can do anything with your Gold Cup roster. I believe
unless there's an injury.
Somebody wrote that.
Yeah, I don't know. But if they can bring him in, God, they need him. Alejandro Zendejas is unique ability to take on players one-on-one. He can play either wing. He can play as a 10. There's so many different things that he can do. And I think that he's the type of guy, he did not have a very good Gold Cup in the last Gold Cup. He tried too hard. He tried to do too much. And he did not. I am sure that he wants to get that thorn out of his side and show what he can do. And I really would like to see Zendejas on the Gold Cup roster. I think he would make an enormous difference for this team. They need a player like that desperately, especially based on what I've seen.
So, Roberto, we're exactly 1 year away from the beginning of the World Cup. It'll kick off on June the 11th, 2026.
365 days away.
12 teams have qualified, 3 automatically, U.S., Canada, Mexico. I got this shirt from a vendor on the streets of Ibarra in Ecuador. And Ecuador last night, they clinched a spot. They're one of the 12 that has qualified out of South America. It's only Ecuador and then the defending champions Argentina so far. And then Australia is one of the 12, and with Aiden O'Neill, they qualified also yesterday was when it became official that they're part of that 12. And otherwise, it's Japan, Iran, and we'll get to Iran in a moment because they probably won't have any supporters coming in, Uzbekistan, Jordan, South Korea, New Zealand, and those are your 12 so far. So,
by the way, on the Iran thing, just flip a coin. Who knows what the big guy is feeling the day that these things have to be done or not. If somebody throws him some money, he'll probably say, "All right, yeah, they're all allowed in."
Alexander Obnos is a very good writer for The Guardian.
Yes,
and he wrote an article which was published this morning. And I'm just going to read the first paragraph. Executives from the U.S. host city committees for next year's World Cup said on Monday that Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, those raids have created uncertainty as they prepare to host an influx of foreign visitors. So they're trying to prepare in all these different cities. It will be 11 cities across the U.S. 5 million people have been originally predicted to venture into these cities to watch the World Cup. However, visa processing times, we've talked about that before, very slow. So some people might not get in because of that. Travel bans have been instituted, including for Iran. And raids ostensibly aimed at deporting undocumented immigrants have seen the government arrest and deport visa holders, permanent residents, and even citizens. So that's from Abner this morning, Alexander Abner this morning.
Shane, put up Misael's last two comments, please. So ICE going to be at the World Cup at the Club World Cup games. Yes, especially Miami. They made an announcement they're going to be there for that. So, I mean, if Gianni Infantino wants his thing to be a success, okay, and they're having major problems selling tickets. They've sold under 30,000 for the first game. That includes Inter Miami. If they were playing that game at Chase Stadium, it would be a sellout and people would be dying to get in. Because of the fact that they're playing at Hard Rock, that stadium holds somewhere between 65 and 70,000 people. So it's less than half. They are making deals that if you buy, especially for schools and clubs, that if you buy tickets, it basically comes out to $4 a ticket to get in. They're trying to basically paper the house at this point because they're not buying. And what they're doing and what the U.S. government is doing by this, and Gianni Infantino should be absolutely furious, because his nonprofit is not going to be making any profit on this tournament of the way this comes out. And you know that this nonprofit is all about the profits. It's all about the money. All right. When you're saying we're going to send ICE to these stadiums, how many immigrants do you think are going to freaking show up to this games? How many? When you're depending upon the immigrant population of this country to support this tournament, right? You're expecting this. You want this. And basically, they're saying, oh, yeah, we're going to send ICE. And as Misael wrote, that they made a statement that non-citizens need to bring their papers. So what happens if you're an undocumented immigrant that's here? You're not going to a game because you're running a huge risk that you are going to be detained and deported. I mean, if they're deporting people that are showing up to finish their citizenship papers, and they're dragging them out there, including children, okay? And they're deporting families with American children. I mean, why are these people going to go to their game? Donald Trump and Stephen Miller are ensuring that this World Cup World Cup is going to be a failure as far as fans and stands.
But take it down the road to a year from today, and if things have not changed, it's going to be a very similar situation.
100%.
Hey, one solution. Hey, understanding how the Trump administration is operating at times. In 1991, the Chinese government told all factory workers that they had to attend the first ever Women's World Cup in order to fill the stadiums. They required attendance by those that worked in the community. The government did.
Yeah.
So that might be one way they could fill up a Hard Rock.
Well, I don't know if we can do that here, but I will tell you.
Well, it's tongue in cheek.
I will tell you that the way that this is going to get resolved, okay, it's either going to be a check or money under the table directly to some Trump foundation, all right? And then all of a sudden, ICE is going to be nowhere near the stadiums.
By the way, my sources say fewer than 25,000 tickets have been sold for that opener. So I know you said, so what you said under 30, very similar.
That's still under 30.
It is under 30, but I'm talking fewer than 25.
Yeah.
For a place that holds.
Yeah, that was right. Felipe Cardenas wrote it, I think, as well. I think the stadium holds between 65 and 70. They remodeled it. You know, it's been remodeled several times. So, and downsized.
All right. Well, that's as deeply as we've dug into the politics of our times, which has seeped in, not just seeped in, it's coming in as a freaking flood and avalanche into the sport of soccer.
Yeah.
So,
by the way, the official number is 65,326.
Okay. Well, that won't look so good on TV, that's for sure.
No, they're going to put everybody on one side of the field, I guess.
All right, man. Hey, well, one final thing I want to say, that TST 7-side tournament down in Cary, North Carolina, the soccer tournament it's called, the U.S. women won $1 million, and that means Carly Lloyd and Heather O'Reilly, my two Jersey girls, are part of the group that took home the $1 million take all. I mean, there's no second or third place.
I love it. They've been doing this with basketball for years. I used to call that tournament the basketball tournament on ESPN several years, and so they did the same thing with soccer. I think it's fantastic. So good for the girls.
Third year for TST, second year for the women. And it's a fun event. I mean, a lot of familiar names were involved with that on the men's and women's side.
Yeah, man. Kun Agüero was there.
Kun Agüero was there. So was Nani. Nani played.
Yeah.
Among others. Trying to think who else I can't think. I don't have it here, and my brain's not working right now. So anyway, but I will be able to tell you that tomorrow. So at 6:30, Matty Lawrence and I will have our NYCFC pregame live stream from Yankee Stadium. At 7:15, our pregame show and Roberto's pregame show on the New York City FC Network, English and Spanish, will air. And then if you're a Sirius XM FC supporter, or maybe you're driving around, the English side of the commentary will be on channel 157 as well. And if you're watching on Apple, you can also listen to the English commentary if you want. I suggest maybe you do. Although Neil Sika is on the play-by-play, so he's a good guy. Lloyd Sam.
He is, yeah. No, we love
but keep in mind that Lloyd Sam, a former Red Bull, will be your color commentator.
Wow.
There's not a New York City supporter that wants to listen to that broadcast. I'm telling you.
That's not nice. That's not nice. But I would love for the fans to be able to write Apple and complain that Spanish fans don't get the same things that English fans get, although they pay the exact same amount of money. And they don't get the hometown Spanish radio on the Apple broadcast. And that is blatantly unfair.
Agreed.
Write Apple and let them know.
Okay. Let me see. Hold on. I'm writing them right now. Remember when we used to send letters? Who was I talking to today? We were talking.
You can write them on Twitter. So KP asked, good question, KP. How do we write to them? Well, you can write MLS. You can write the people, the PR department at MLS. You can write Apple on Twitter. You'll be able to find them on Twitter and write them there too.
Yeah, you have to flood MLS. Leave Apple alone. They won't.
No, don't leave Apple alone. No,
leave Apple alone.
No, they're making all the decisions. They've taken over everything. They're making all these decisions. So write them both if you want.
All right, write them both. I was just in a conversation with somebody. We were talking about, and he's an agent, but he was a youth player at Ajax. And it was back in the time, it was before you could just send an email or, you had to write a letter. He was trying to get a tryout with a club. So he wrote a letter to the club, and he found out 3 weeks later that they would bring him in. I think it was Ajax Youth. And I'm like, wow, it wasn't that long ago either, where that's what you had to do. You had to wait for the return letter.
Yeah.
I like getting, every now and then, Roberto, I'll send a letter to somebody because the reaction's always the same. Man, it was great getting a written letter in the mail. I said, I know, man, I know. I
still like snail mail. It has its advantages for sure.
When's the last time you sent someone a surprise letter in the mail?
I don't remember. I don't know if I ever
I would like to encourage everybody that's listening or watching right now is to write a letter to just figure out who you want to do it. And tonight, write the letter, put the stamp on, and mail it tomorrow. And I am guaranteeing you'll get this really cool, appreciative message from that person. And they'll probably do it over text. After they get the written letter, they won't call you. They'll text you, hey, thanks for that. Anyway, okay.
I just want to stop getting the personal letters from the nice folks at the IRS. I'll be fine.
All right. Yeah. Well, hey, the last letter I got in the mail from anybody governmental was, your Social Security check deposit will come on this date, and sure enough, boom, it was there. So
I did. I did get it via regular mail. That was earlier this year.
Yeah. So there you go. So now you know how old Roberto and I are. There you go.
Well, you could take it at 62, 65, and then anytime after 65. So you can take it. So.
Okay. Then.
Yes. So you should know.
Okay. Well, I'll take the 62-year-old part of that anyway. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, by the way, this is Ecuador, Ibarra. And they qualify for the World Cup. Now, I don't know much about Ecuador and their national soccer team, but one of my best friends growing up, and I'm going to visit him in December after New York City wins MLS Cup, and then go see him and maybe go to the Galapagos. But anyway, congratulations to Ecuador.
Just say Alex Aguinaga, and everybody will go, oh, you know a lot.
Okay.
He was their great, to me, their greatest player. He also played for my team in Mexico, Necaxa, who is now, by the way, partially owned by the same nice folks who own Wrexham. And they're doing a series
documentary
on Welcome to Necaxa.
Yep, I saw that. I was very
Eva Longoria.
I was excited to see that for you. All right, for Roberto, I'm Glenn. And thanks Shane, our producer, and we'll talk to you tomorrow night when New York City plays host to Atlanta. See you.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast NYCFC Views on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.